Good evening once again. Welcome to the UBC News Tonight, the 10 o'clock edition. My name is Wadulo Arnold, Mohammed Mugalu on sign language. Without further ado, let's take a look at tonight's top stories. In our headlines tonight, Joshua Cheptegei wins 5 kilometers Hercules Monaco run. Nabakooba supports rural development. Valentine celebrations hit by COVID-19. And female journalists claim sexual harassment by their bosses. All these in our news tonight. It's an honor and thank you for joining us. We now start out with the main bulletin. Now, Joshua Cheptegei has written his name further in the history books by an immaculate run at the Hercules Monaco 5-kilometer run. The Ugandan prodigy was at the forefront of a strong field from start to finish and crossed the line in 13 minutes and 11 seconds. More details in the story.
As they get underway out there today, we see them head. You can see just how strong the wind is with the Monaco flags.
In Monaco for the second year running, Uganda's Joshua Cheptegei eyed glory and a chance to set another world record over the 5-kilometer distance.
You don't actually need to see any split times yet to know that that field has gone off with intent, hasn't it?
Minor pacemakers, Cheptegei crossed the first 1 minute in 2 minutes 41 seconds, which was an early indicator of falling short of a new world record. With knowledge about his slow pace to beat the record, Cheptegei then seemed to focus on defense of his crown.
Yeah, I just knew that I have to, run the best way I used to always run, and I didn't want something to distract me, especially with the gloves, and something small can distract your motivation and your mindset. So I just wanted to just run and defend the title.
He stretched ahead of the field and by the final corner knew that his time had yet again come to shine.
That's majestic running from Cheptegei at this point.
You can see just
beautiful
the
stride length.
Ease with which he covers the ground and almost bounces there. The other two working hard to try and stay with him and probably have stayed closer than they might have anticipated.
He finished in 13 minutes and 11 seconds, well ahead of his nearest challengers Bethan Bagen and another Kenyan, Davis Kiplagat.
With the speed that he's picked up over those closing stages, I'm looking to see if we can see him. We will see him pass under the red arch that they started under and now down onto the carpet and towards the finishing straight here. Here he comes. And 13, 9, 10.
It was really a good race, but the win was incredibly difficult to break.
Up next for Cheptegei is a series of European engagements, but the most eagerly awaited are the Olympics, which World Athletics President Sebastian Coe is optimistic will happen amidst COVID-19.
I think it'll be a great season. I really genuinely think that. And look, there's been a lot of speculation and conjecture, but plan A is the Tokyo Games in a safe and secure environment. And look, we really do have to do everything we can to get that up and off the ground, because you've only got to see the quality of the performances here that have been bottled up, waiting to really excite everybody in a few months' time.
In the women's race, Kenyan Beatrice Chepkoech triumphed in a record equaling 14.44 seconds dash.
And we'll cross the line in 14:40, so that is actually...
In more news, the National Resistance Movement Party, through its legal team, is happy with the decision that court made against the NUP leader Robert Chagulanyi, who was challenging President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni's victory. Now, during a media briefing at the NRM Secretariat, the head of the NRM legal team, Oscar Chihika, says that the first court's decision showed them light at the end of the tunnel.
Court recently dismissed a petition amendment by NUP lawyers challenging President Yoweri Museveni's January 14th presidential election victory. The head of NRM legal team, Oscar Chihika, told the media in Kampala that they are happy with the first victory so far registered.
We have experience on handling presidential election petition, and we knew it was always going to be a difficult task. That is why we started preparations as far back as November, knowing what to expect just in case a petition comes in. So when the petition eventually was filed, it found that we had covered a lot of ground, and that's why we are reasonably confident about what we know is coming ahead of us.
On the application challenging the Chief Justice Owiny Dolo's participation in this petition hearing, Chihika says the applicant Mabilins did not follow the right procedures, so application won't be given audience.
For an application of such a nature, first and foremost, you have to be a party to the case. In this case, Mabilis is not one of the parties. Neither is not the petitioner, nor is he any one of the respondents. This letter does not follow the procedure that is set out for an application of such a nature. There was specific rules relating to recusal of judges.
Meanwhile, the NRM emerged the winner of the most posts in areas where election had either been cancelled or skipped.
NRM won the majority of the seats in most positions being contested, and we thank the voters for trusting the mighty party NRM.
On professional level, Chihika advises the public to avoid commenting on the merits and demerits of the petition to allow court to deliver its judgment. Sebira Andrew, UBC News.
And then in a related matter, National Unity Platform legal team has filed over 50 affidavits at the Supreme Court to support the recently lodged petition. Now, the presidential election petition already suffered a setback when court rejected a bid by lawyers to amend their petition. And we have more details in this story.
So today we've got the evidence from the side of the petitioners in the form of affidavits. The first volume is 50 affidavits, and this is the first one. And we've got 3 other affidavits from 3 other people, making the total 53. So today was the last day for the petitioners to file any affidavits. The respondents were here in the tent downstairs. They have been served. The first respondent, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. The second respondent, Electoral Commission, and the third respondent, Attorney General. They have all received these affidavits. So from tomorrow, the days for the respondents start running. We gave them until the 20th to reply what has been served on them today. From the 21st, the petitioner will be able to rejoin or file a rejoinder to what the respondents would have submitted. And then on the 24th, we'll come back to court.
Thick and thin, we've been able to file more affidavits in court. That is further evidence that we were allowed by court to file. And this evening, so we've been able to file several of them, and now in court record. And in due course, we shall be filing more as and when the time allows. Yes, that we have brought still canvasses all the issues, all the grounds that we have mentioned in court, largely on non-compliance, and then the violations or offences committed by the candidate himself, Yoweri Museveni, and then those other violations by state and government agencies wherein the Attorney General is involved, but it cuts across all the grounds that we have. So far so good. It was unfortunate we could not be allowed to amend the petition, but like I said before and we say now, the petition is proper and the evidence is enough for us to win on all the grounds that we have raised, and I think we are very hopeful. That is if justice is to prevail and if the courts are to be impartial, just like we expect them to be. And then number 2, if you talk of time, we are already working on a Sunday. That means there is a special arrangement, and given the circumstances under which we are and the time limits that we have, we are glad that they've been able to wait, and they will wait and receive our evidence.
But they have just served us with the affidavit now. So that's all I can say.
sinafuna budde busomamu tugenda kubitwala tusomemu nga tiimu tulabe engeri gye tuddamu ya affidavits zaabwe ze bafayiriza ate situnuddemu nnyo mu details naye tujja kuba tulaba ekirimu siyinza kugamba kati nti waliwo ekikaluba oba ekitakaluba naye tugenda kubitunulamu tulabe.
In other news, Mityana District Woman Member of Parliament Judith Nabakooba has done a lot for her people's socio-economic aspirations through boosting social services at all levels, mainly health and education. Now, the minister is also renowned for supporting the common person against land grabbing and taxation. More in the story.
Besides support to the health and community development initiatives, Nabakooba's assistance has been equally felt in other sectors like the education in Mityana district.
For sure, before what our Honorable assisted us in, like this water supplier, water reservoir, we had a problem that according to the population we have, our children could suffer a lot in getting water to take, to drink.
Government in our term of office has supported us overwhelmingly. They gave us 5 primary schools under World Bank project. One district getting 5 primary schools, good schools, classes from P1 to P7. A number of classroom blocks have also been put up in the different sub-counties of the district. There were a few parishes that were missing. There were like 2 parishes that were missing primary schools, but as we speak now, we have only 1 parish which is missing a primary school. That is Busendi parish in Kalangalu sub-county, but the rest of the parishes are covered.
Mityana Muslim Primary School has been one of the benefiting institutions from Minister Judith Nabakooba's support to education schemes.
How moving away from the office, for sure we are going to be affected so much.
Being a day and boarding school with over 500 learners, life without a stable and reliable electricity was hard until Nabakooba stepped in.
Honorable Nabakooba, nze wano wendi nga kusomero lino no walla wemba ntambuddeko abadde atukoledde omulimu gw'amaanyi era tujja kumusubwa nnyo.
But since that provision through her to our school of providing for us that solar system, for sure that problem is no longer there. So that service of educating our children at night or in the evening is now running on smoothly.
Nabakooba's full and half bursary initiatives have also aided many families to acquire better education.
Nalina omwana wa mwannyinaze yajja waka nga azze kulunda nte ne bwe ntunulira omwana nga mwana muto ne mmuteeka mu kusoma ne ntuukirira Honorable ne muga Honorable nze sirina ssente ndi musajja mulimi era mulunzi n'anzijjako omwana oyo n'amutwala kuva mu kibiina kyali kya kutaano P7 omwana n'afuna first grade. Honorable teyakomaawo omwana n'amunzijjako n'amutwala kati wenjogerera omwana oyo ali mu senior ya kusatu. Naye bawangudde Honorable Nabakooba nawulidde nga nze nsanyaladde mu mutima gwange.
For those whom I was supporting as far as school fees is concerned, we shall sit and make a plan of probably how to integrate them into the USE schools. Because I believe with USE, the fees are low compared to the private schools. So I'll try to engage them to see whether they can buy to get their children from the private schools, and then we take them to the government-aided schools.
Amidst all this, a vacuum created by her exit as Mityana District Woman Member of Parliament will be felt not only in education sector, but in sectors like infrastructure, where she had initiated many road construction projects in the area.
Those are government projects. We shall keep on following them. Once government has pledged, has committed itself, it has to deliver. So we will continue from the background, pursuing and persuading government to fulfill those commitments.
Nabakooba has also been at the forefront of uniting different religions, not only in Mityana, but in Greater Mubende sub-region. she has also worked tooth and nail when it comes to fight for the common person against land grabbing, taxation, among others. Robert Onyango, UBC News, Mityana.
In more news tonight, His Excellency President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has directed security agencies to set up a toll-free number for families who want to avail information or lodge complaints about their missing relatives. According to the Minister of ICT and National Guidance, Judith Nabakooba, the directive is aimed at availing information and traceability for the alleged kidnaps. More details in the story.
The so-called disappearances.
It has been long overdue when lamentations and complaints from a section of Ugandans arising from purported kidnappings had taken center stage. The matter was brought to the attention of the President, and this was contained in his televised address to the nation last evening, where he updated and guided the nation as regards to it.
We had now new schemes of criminality. First of all, the culture of rioting. If there is anything, riots. And how do they riot? Attack buildings, attack security personnel.
In his televised address to the nation, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni hinted on the planned election violence by some sections of political players.
Because these lawbreakers, we are planning openly that they will not allow the elections to take place. The security forces decided to deploy heavily just before the elections. In the case of Kampala, we also brought a commando unit which had distinguished itself in fighting in Somalia and which had destroyed ADF. We deployed it.
As a sign of commitment and transparency, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has now ordered joint security forces to set up a toll-free line where complaints and inquiries about missing individuals can be made.
A hotline will be provided for relatives to call and lodge their complaints. Government of Uganda does not support the torture or any form of violence against anyone. I call upon members of the public to disregard any information that suggests arrested people were tortured. His Excellency President Yoweri Museveni has now instructed the police and all other agencies to provide a detailed update about all those who were arrested. The update will enable the country to get a detailed account of who was arrested and for what reasons. It will also put to rest some of the rumors and fake news that had started to emerge regarding some of the arrested individuals. I therefore call upon members of the public to remain calm and allow the police to provide a detailed report. Once the report is done, I believe the relatives of all those who were arrested will be in position to access their people.
Nabakooba maintains that the government of Uganda will at all costs not condone insecurity within its borders.
A crime is a crime. You cannot hide under a political party and you commit a crime. A crime remains a crime regardless of our political parties. So the best way would be to desist from committing crimes or to desist from even conspiring, because it can be very unfortunate. And once a crime is committed, definitely the security forces will come for you.
Nabakooba, who was addressing media in Kampala, also warned the diplomats, foreign embassies and agencies against engaging in internal affairs of the country.
Respect our democracy and internal decisions. International cooperation is based on mutual respect for each other, with the understanding that no one is superior from the other.
Robert Onyango, UBC News, Kampala.
More in our news tonight. The Archbishop of the Church of Uganda, Stephen Kazimba Mugalu, has called on all churches to use their available pieces of land productively, saying that this will help in generating income for the church. Kazimba says the time has come when the church can no longer only depend on donors and offertories from Christians. This was during his pastoral visit to South Ankole Diocese in Ntungamo district, where he also toured and commissioned various diocesan projects.
South Ankole to have this project of coffee totaling to 285 acres is such a blessing. And this is just representing the whole diocese, where every church has been requested to plant 5 acres, 10 acres, 20 acres, depending on the land they have. This is very, very important. No land grabber will go to grab a land which is being used. But also this is very useful as far as income generating projects is concerned. The church cannot depend on just offertories and tithe. It will depend on what we have around us.
The process ran tight. We have already started, but at the same time, if the church land is idle, so the grabbers will come in because they find air, and on air you fry like a bird. So we are encouraging all the Christians and lovers of the church to make sure that every church land has a title, but also preserve and guard jealously those grabbers who want to take church land.
In a special tonight, Ugandans have joined the rest of the world to commemorate Valentine's Day, despite the low turn-up at the places of entertainment due to COVID-19. And the vendors themselves also say and complain of a low turn-up of customers. Ordinarily, Valentine's Day to Ugandans is a day for showing love to loved ones, and this is manifested through gifts exchange, parties, among others. Let's take a look.
Valentine's Day is an initiative of Pope Galatius way back in the 1st century, circa 496 AD. This was in remembrance of Saint Valentine of Rome, who died on the 14th of February, 269 AD. In Uganda, this day gained momentum in the 1990s through Peter Sematimbe, renowned journalist, come politician, who preached the gospel of love to Ugandans, copying his lifestyle from the Americans. In the wake of COVID-19, however, the day has this time around been marked without the usual pomp and ceremony.
Compared to the previous years, we've managed to have a big turnout of people buying gifts for their lovers. It can be your lover, it can be your parent, it can be your wife, it can be your sister, brother, and any other person.
Due to the low turn-up of gift buyers, especially Valentine followers, vendors have made little or no profits, and so have been hoteliers and restaurant operators.
nti abantu abali bakola ebintu by'okutwala ng'ebyokwetala abantu abayinza okukola obulabe obutonotono abantu ne beesikamu nti kitukosezaamu okitegeera tetuliko nti tukolera muntu mugagga mwereere era ojja kusanga nti tupulintinga ebifaananyi ebyebisatu nti omuntu ajja kujja kugamita n'ennusu bisatu tumupulintingire tupulintinga omuntu agala essaawa y'emitwalo 15 tugimuwe.
I'm Ivan Juko, reporting for UBC here in Kampala.
Now, as the world celebrates Valentine's Day, residents of Luwero district have been reminded to guard against HIV/AIDS, which, despite the presence of other ailments, continues to torment Ugandans. Now, this was during an HIV testing camp organized for 35 women, members of Tulibumu Development Organization in Luwero town.
Valentine's Day has since the early 1990s become a key part of Ugandans' social life, with merrymaking amongst lovers punctuating the day. But in the process, many endanger themselves, and although no statistics are provided, it's believed that many catch ailments like the deadly HIV/AIDS on that single day. To ensure such happenings are limited, starting with this particular edition, residents of Luwero are benefiting from a free HIV testing camp. The camp, that is using the new OraQuick test kit, has been funded by US Peace Corps through PEPFAR. It's easy to use, as explained by Alan Tondo.
This OraQuick works in a way that you're supposed actually to have eaten before, or if you're going to eat, you actually take 20 minutes before you take the test. But if you've not eaten, then it's advised you can either rinse your mouth if you have eaten. If you've not eaten, you can pass the OraQuick swab just above your gum once, and then below the lower gum once, and then you insert the swab into the buffer, and then you stand it for 20 minutes. After the 20 minutes, when you have time, you actually read off your results. The results can be positive, they can be negative, or you can actually get an invalid result.
This project has been enabled by Team Uganda, which is a community-based organization that cares for society in various aspects.
Akantu akakozesebwa omuntu okukenyine yagadde okwekebeza wa secretary kangu kakozesa kali 99 results zaako zibantuufu tegeetakisa kufumita musaayi kuvaayo kangu kakozesa atera kesigika.
This OraQuick self-test kit is in collaboration with Government of Uganda. It aims at playing a big part in the 95-95 approach, which targets that percentage of the public knowing their status, getting treated, and reducing their viral load by 2030.
It takes little time, not much time. Yes. It is not this type which I used are not the needle we used on the finger, and it is big and it's important.
You don't have to use an injection. It's convenient, accurate, and privacy guaranteed.
Members of the public, including men, have been tested during this latest exercise that cost 6 million shillings for 115 test kits, 150 mosquito nets, and condoms.
Katakwi district authorities have embarked on tracking over 480 registered candidates that have not yet returned to school to prepare for primary leaving examinations. Now, speculations are rife that some of the female candidates might have opted for early marriage.
Katakwi district authorities have discovered that a majority of the primary 7 registered candidates have not yet returned to school to prepare for their final primary leaving examinations.
Out of 2,801 candidates registered to sit for PLE, 481 have not returned. Out of these 308 are boys, 110 are girls.
This has been attributed to possible early marriages where parents and culprits meet in markets to transact the bride price.
We have a market here called Chorimongin. So you'll find people negotiating like they are buying animals. Because of the operations that we have mounted here, we have made their programs of having those Chiwanjula programs in the village very difficult. So as a result of that, they have now changed the modality. They come to the market in Chorimongin. You find people like they are buying what? Animals.
The district has now embarked on sensitizing the masses against early marriages and arresting the culprits that has so far seen 10 of them in their custody.
Around 10 people. And I've directed the district CID and the DPC to continue, with those operations. within this period, this month.
Meanwhile, in Soroti district, the majority of the primary 7 candidates have been reportedly trekking miles to hunt for catfish in order to change the diet.
The majority of these people, they come from different places, not here. Like 4 miles, like 2 miles, others 5. That's why you see you are grounded around here. So if you want to change diet, you come around the swamp, then you look for fish.
Peter Ewedu, a primary 7 candidate at Katine Primary School, is among those who are hunting for catfish to change the diet. He says that he cannot afford to sit exams when he is hungry.
When I go to school, I come back and sleep hungry. We don't have what to eat. Floods washed away all our food crops.
Teso sub-region being a lowland region, fish hunters say in the recent season they were affected by floods and their harvest was poor.
My place, we still have floods. When you plant cowpeas and cassava, you don't harvest anything. We are now surviving on sweet potatoes from the well-wishers.
When they don't go to the swamp to fish, they sleep hungry, and they are now calling for government's intervention.
Government should at least help us on beans and posho because the situation is bad.
But Omiro disagreed with his counterparts, urging them to wait for the season to go back to the gardens, saying that they should not expect much from government.
But now they are also crying about coronavirus. There is no any help. I think the majority are not even working. So you can't tell me that the government can help. We are praying to God to get rain so that we dig. I think that's the thing I can tell you.
This report was compiled by Joseph Oko for UBC.
Some light humor but serious matters right there. Uganda female journalists operating in West Nile region have decried of increased incidences of sexual harassment being experienced at their workplace and in the field that lead them to psychological and physical suffering. The scribes pinned news editors, media managers, and news sources including police for being the major culprits of sexual harassment.
Female journalists operating in northern Uganda have accused news editors, media managers and news sources, including police, for sexually abusing them in the course of looking for news. This was during Uganda Journalist Union workshop on gender equality and safety of female journalists held at Tropical Suites Hotel in Arua town.
But do you think there is anything for free? There is nothing for free. If you want something, you need to work for it. I said, okay. So then I asked him, what do you want me to do? But you know. But then I was younger, I was really younger. But I didn't understand, but I knew the sexual, of course he wanted something sexually, but I didn't know exactly what he, I just told him, no, not here, I can't, I just can't.
So from that moment he started being so rude to me. When we go to field, when he reaches field and finds me, they'll be like, Safina, what do you think you're doing? Do you think I brought you here to stay? Why aren't you working? You're letting people... And yes, I'm actually doing the work. So he would really harass me all the time, being rude to me. Every time he addresses the team, anything, he gives a negative example with me. And yet everyone knew that I was doing my best. So I ignored. And the rest, there was unfortunately one girl who gave in to him.
Unfortunately, as I make 39 years old on the 25th of this month, something happened to me. One of my colleagues came and grabbed my bags. I was like, what? You're my friend, but this is unacceptable. Kindly do not do it again. And he was surprised because I'm this kind of really bubbly person. But I addressed him, because I even sympathized with him.
The scribe said female journalists less than 40 years of age are the most affected, leading to psychological and physical suffering that negatively impacts their work. West Nile Regional Police spokesperson Josephine Angusha urged the female scribes to expose the culprits by reporting their case to police and expressed commitment in fighting the vice.
Let us work together. In case you meet challenges, don't sit quiet wherever you are, or don't just swallow it, but contact the offices. One of them is Uganda Journalists Union. We also have Uganda Human Rights Commission. We have the police commanders around. If it is other junior officers harassing you, those junior officers always have their leaders. You can go to the next level so that such an officer can be penalized or can be cautioned on whatever wrong he's doing to the female journalists. So we should all know that as females working in male-dominated professions, we are vulnerable. Therefore, we need to really stick to the pieces of advice that we got from here.
The president, Uganda Journalists Union, Lucy Ekadu, said the gender equality and safety training of female journalists is aimed at empowering female news reporters to advocate for their rights. She said preventing and addressing sexual harassment is in the interest of society to have a secure and protected workplace free from discrimination and harassment.
Sexual harassment in our workspaces, and then the safety precautions that we need to take as female journalists.
Arua City Mayor-elect Sam Wadri commended Uganda Journalists Union and Norwegian Union of Journalists for spearheading the cause of promoting press freedom in the region. Sudat Kai, Clement Wangira, UBC.
In more news tonight, one-stop center farmers' approach to agriculture modernization is taking the lead in empowering smallholder farmers advocate for better services. Here, farmers access extension training services, good farm inputs, as well as collective bulking and marketing of produce. One of such centers is Zirowe Agali Awamu Agricultural Business Training Association in Zirowe Sub-County in Luwero District.
It is a beehive trend of activities at Zirowe Agali Awamu Agribusiness Training Association as farmers and traders in rice and maize bulk and process their produce. According to the center manager, Godfrey Mayambela, the infrastructure facilitates over 160 farmers groups focusing on value chains development to collective marketing.
The one-stop center approach was that these groups that are shown interest in what they are doing and they want now to commercialize.
According to Mayambela, the association, which draw membership from the districts of Luwero, Nakaseke, Nakasongola, Mukono, Kayunga, and Wakiso, is currently exporting maize to Kenya and to World Food Program, leading many of the members enjoy higher profits.
We have moved the 17 years simply because Sasakawa has a different approach when you look at the development partners. Because they know that sometimes the resources may not be enough to support us, they have the arm of public-private partnerships.
The Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Husbandry and Fisheries, through the Mayith Community Liaison Officer, Innocent Habimana, has been on a fact-finding tour to see the performance of the one-stop center approach to agriculture transformation.
The model you are using, if the government can pick it and then impart it into all the Ugandans, then the country can shift from where it is to where it wants to be.
According to the Deputy Country Director, Sasakawa Africa Association, Joseph Pasco Bemba, it is now 20 years ago since the one-stop center approach was a viable avenue to empower farmers and provide a range of services.
We are very happy with ZAPTA. We see the bigger vision is being realized, where we wanted to have a model that encompasses different services that farmers need to access for them to get out of poverty and do farming as a business.
Bemba adds that the OSCA approach was also beneficial to other stakeholders and had potential of a best practice for agriculture extension. In attendance was the Seka Africa Association desk officer at the Ministry of Agriculture, Edmond Bishaka. He commended the activities of the association, saying that such should be scaled up by the Ministry of Agriculture for boosting community growth.
I think we are in the right path because we are seeing there are a bit of gaps, and those gaps we need to look for a few people who can fill them, a few partners. So I think we should partner more, reach out to more farmers.
But here we are now preparing, there's a truck that...
If there is any civil engineer that is satisfied with his professional service to Uganda, then it is the current Minister for Disaster Preparedness, Engineer Hilary Onek. The man from Lamore district in northern Uganda values teamwork backed by consultations, a culture he planted in national water while serving as its managing director. But how did he get there? Was it a walk in the park? Focus on Personality answers these questions.
Typical of anybody who is at that stage, a child at that level.
Just like any young man with aspirations would wish to become something in future.
My father was a soldier.
So was the case with Engineer Hilary Onek.
I wanted to become a soldier.
However, along his education path, his capability showed him another direction.
By the time I reached Senior 3, I already changed my mind.
Day 5 of May, 1948, the Pakala clan of the Acholi in northern Uganda was treated to an audition in the bath of Hilary Obaloker Onek. The well-experienced civil engineer, who will soon hit his 73rd birthday, was born in Palabek to Samson Okello Otto and Jera Ayo Otto. Mzee Otto, as Onek prefers to describe his late father, was then serving in the King's African Rifles in Kenya when he married Mama Ayo.
In Parabegem, sub-county in Lamore district.
Onek attended St. Paul's Demonstration School, Kangole, for primary education before proceeding to St. Mary's College, Kisubi, for his O and A levels. It was from here that he advanced to Makerere University for the Bachelor of Science degree, a course he never completed.
I had opportunity to go and read engineering in Eastern Europe, and I went to Moscow where I studied civil engineering, and I extended further into my master's degree, and later I worked in a research laboratory at the Moscow Institute of Civil Engineering.
It was from Moscow Institute of Civil Engineering that he returned to Uganda after the overthrow of the then Ugandan president, Idi Amin Dada. He embarked on a new life in Uganda as a lecturer at Makerere University, inculcating students with knowledge in water resources, hydrotechnical, structural, and highway engineering.
Professionally, I'm a civil engineer, and my performance as a civil engineer has stood out over the period of time. When I restored the water systems in Kampala, and I've contributed in the appreciation of engineering in many fields, like in the hydropower construction, where I specialized for my master's, and I did extensive research in that area of dam construction and hydropower structures.
With such professional qualifications, Onek found himself a chief engineer at National Water and Sewerage Corporation.
And we improvise the technologies to ensure that we restored water in Kampala within 5 months. of my tenure as Chief Engineer in National Water. And we continued to develop the water systems, not only now in Kampala, but also Jinja and Tebe, and we proceeded further to other towns of the country.
Here, it did not take long before he rose to assume the most top job of managing director at the corporation. The culture of teamwork, backed by consultations before decision-making, was always top on his menu.
My initial step was to make sure I brought together the workers and make them to understand that all of us are workers. Even me as managing director, I earn salary. I persuaded them to work harder and improve the environment so that we can earn better as workers. And we became allies. And that challenge, I overcame it very successfully.
His commitment and passion for service saw him personally redesign and rebuild the Manafa Water Works, which a British contractor had failed.
They omitted a number of things in their designs. And when they completed the works in 1987, and it was commissioned, within 48 hours, there was a huge explosion at the station. The whole system was blown up by water pressure. We set it up to work again, and when we switched it on, I stayed there at Bumbu for 1 week at the water station to observe to see that the system is working according to design. Thereafter, when now I was satisfied that it performed well, I invited the minister at that time, it was the late Chango Machu, to commission the water system.
To achieve all this, it took bravery, as it was bumpy and humpy, navigating the road to his success at National Water. The road was bumpy in the sense that he resisted the sale of National Water to private players.
Our turnover was in excess of 3 billion shillings, that time as a National Water, by 1989, 1990. And that was a lot of money at the time. But our expenditure was only 1.4 billion. So we used to make surplus of about 1.6 billion. And that surplus, part of it, we would inject back in the development of the institution, of the various infrastructure, and part of it we used to pay to the treasury. So we were a money-making institution. There was no reason why the company should have been sold.
Civil service aside and corporate battles away, it came to a time for him to take another path in his career.
I wanted to have appreciation of business management, and I did the MBA course. Within 2 years, I got my MBA from Makerere University.
The other question some people could be asking is, how did he end up in political leadership? We seek to answer this question next week on Sunday, as we explore the life of Onek, the politician.
The people of Ramoa were looking for a candidate.
And a farmer.
We have learned.
Henry Okrut, Yobisi.
Make sure not to miss how Onek became a politician next Sunday on News Tonight. In more news tonight, Bishop of Madi and West Nile Diocese, the Right Reverend Charles Collins Andaku, has asked the newly inducted Archdeacon of Aringa and other members of the clergy in the diocese to be strong while undertaking their responsibilities. Bishop Andaku was speaking during the induction ceremony of Venerable Hilary Amuki at Eleke Church of Uganda on Sunday in Yumbe District.
Over the Aringa Archdeaconry
The Bishop of Madi and West Nile Diocese, the Right Reverend Charles Collins Andaku, has asked the clergy to remain strong amidst criticism they come across. He said criticism in the public domain sometimes strengthens a leader.
Costs on you that people will always talk. Whether you do good things, they will talk. When you do bad things, they will talk. But my advice to you is seek the wisdom from God to do the work the Lord has put for you to do. I know you will do it because when you joined the ordained ministry, you didn't give us headache. You have papers, but you chose to come to this part of the country which many people do not want to come. But I want to thank you in a special way for your humility. These are rare species that can work in any part of the nation or the
Archdeacon of Aringa, Venerable Hilaram Kiss, said his leadership will advocate for unity among religious leaders from different denominations, political and civic leaders, with the aim of achieving development for the people of Yumbe district, regardless of religious and political affiliations. Venerable Amoki disclosed that the advocacy aims at promoting education and environmental conservation by joining hands with development partners.
I urge all of you to join hands with us and the religious institutions, different sectors of development. I want to call all of you to join hands with us, and we preach the gospel of education and encourage children to go to school. According to history, we are reminded that most of the powerful educational institutions known for good performance in this country were many in the Church of Uganda founded primary and secondary schools. But as of today, they are declining, and this is the same challenge we have in Yumbe district. And I want to assure you that Yumbe district must be the only district in the region where the religious leaders, they are highly valued, and they sit in most of the district executive meetings and take decisions with the local government together. And upon this, I want to thank the leadership of the local government of this district.
The resident district commissioner, Yumbe district, Miss Caroline Angolere, asked the clergy to promote women empowerment in the church. The area MP Yumbe North constituency, Godfrey Onzima, urged the clergy to embrace income-generating activities among Christians.
I am here in Yumbe to empower the woman more. We all know that the engine of our home is a woman, so I am here to add engine oil for us to move. We have to move together. We have to amuki together. We are not going to leave anybody behind, so I ask you to collaborate with us, work with us. Let's work as one team to deliver Yumbe, to serve the people of Yumbe.
Kanisa vadro akot. Ba madrezi kanisa drinking Africa mesova ke tira. Kanisa badzo kane omunia no atalonia no ambonia kan kolopina meseda arora amasiera.
Venerable Amoki is now the 7th Archdeacon of Aringa Archdeaconry.
News Tonight shall now take a short break. When we return, we'll be back with business news. Stay tuned, don't move an inch.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite show.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
show some appreciation for the things you do.
Sent you for today, and they sent you for tomorrow. Sent you for every time and everywhere you go. We love you so, and we enjoy life with you. We are happy, happy, happy to know that we will go with you. That's why we say thank you, thank you, thank you, yeah. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you for choosing MTN. Use MTN mobile money, bundles or other services to get Thank You points. The more you use, the more Thank You points you get. We look forward to many more years together. Thank you.
The day the world stopped was the day we found where to go. From now on, we're not going to leave anything on our plates, because we've learned to savor the moments that were always there, and they never tasted this good.
Welcome back. It's now time for the business news, and straight into it. Uganda Bati, a building construction supplier, has unveiled SAF Build, a new building solution whose setup reduces the property development delivery time and expenses incurred by contractors and customers. Now, the State Minister for Housing, Dr. Chris Baryomunsi, recognized the need for efficient construction projects. He, however, called on the stakeholders to consider affordability of targeted customers. Well suited for the construction of warehouses, factory sheds, parking sheds. The structures are optimized using high tensile galvanized steel to ensure structure maximum strength.
I wish to say that Uganda Society of Architects, really, we support and promote innovative design, building solutions, and even building products, that of course we look out for quality and excellence.
SAF Build is a pre-engineered steel building solution made from high tensile, cold formed and galvanized steel structures that are easily assembled on site within a space of 12 weeks.
Business, of course, is important to us, but we believe that connecting the communities in which we operate has a much bigger impact at the end of the day, making sure that we collaborate with the communities. We are really, actually works very well.
The State Minister for Housing, Dr. Chris Baryomunsi, has tasked Uganda Bati to prioritize training Ugandans so as to benefit the livelihoods of citizens and their families.
We've requested Uganda Bati to train Ugandans, especially our young people, so that they have skills to put up with these structures, so that we are able to see this kind of technology extended to different parts of the country. We wouldn't want to say an expert has to fly from Nairobi to come and construct this kind of structure in any part of the country.
The construction industry contributes over 12% of Uganda's GDP and has witnessed steady growth for the last 20 years. However, low levels of technology utilization, outdated construction methods, and lack of financial capacity still hamper the sector. Still in our news tonight, civil society organizations and representatives of the private sector have collectively come out to oppose the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development's proposal to levy a 0.5% excise duty tax on cash withdrawals from commercial banks. They say this move will undoubtedly deepen the national tax base and add an unnecessary burden to low-income earners whose businesses are still struggling from the negative effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Civil society organizations have acknowledged the need to increase domestic revenue, but say the proposal to tax bank withdrawals counters initiatives that encourage usage of banks by citizens.
We also subject those people whose incomes are already taxed to multiple taxes, with excise duty already imposed on the account and the additional withdrawal taxes. We give an example of your salary. It's already taxed pay as you earn. You take it to the bank, You bank it. You don't bank it, you get it from the bank. It's again taxed. You go to buy sugar, there is VAT. So you find one income is taxed so many times.
Whereas the proposal is aimed at promoting cashless transactions, it is likely to increase the cost of operations, which could in effect discourage the bigger half of the 11% of Ugandan adults that are banked.
This measure is retrogressive because any tax should be progressive, as Madam Jane said. Target the people who are rich to pay more, let the poor pay less. Every time you bring these kinds of flat taxes that target everyone the same way, it means you burden the small people the most. Now we've been on a campaign to encourage SMEs to, to go for more, to register with financial institutions, start register. So when this measure comes, it means you're sending double signals, you're engaging in double speak. On one hand, you're saying come, but once they come, you hit them. So let us be very serious. If you are complaining about a large informal sector, then let's create incentives for people to formalize. Let's not on one hand say, please you are welcome, please you are welcome. Once they are in the net, you start caning them. Now those ones who are outside, what will they do? Will they come in? No.
They are concerned about multiple taxation of citizens, citing an existing 0.5% excise duty tax on bank to mobile money wallets and another 0.5% on mobile money transactions, amidst pre-existing pay-as-you-earn and NSSF taxes.
As a government, it has to operate like a parent. Right now, we have to follow the footsteps of the instructions the President gave us. We need to resuscitate our economy. And by resuscitating our economy, we have to create an enabling environment that enables people to go back and produce, to enable people to go back and invest. We wish to appeal to government that please don't eat the laying bird.
Civil society suggests rethinking the domestic resource mobilization architecture that will support the resuscitation of the economy after COVID-19, while prioritizing renegotiations of double tax agreements to regain tax rights on dividends. Wadulo Arnold for UBC News in Kampala. In our international news, on Saturday, the Senate voted to acquit 45th President Donald J. Trump of America for the second time. The Senate needed 2/3 or 67 votes to convict President Trump, but the trial resulted in 57 guilty votes and 43 not guilty votes. The Senate voted to acquit former President Trump of inciting the January 6th riot at the Capitol in his second impeachment trial. Now, 7 Republicans joined all Democrats in voting guilty for a majority of 57 votes, but Democrats failed to get the 2/3 majority needed to convict. Although he voted to acquit, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell issued a blistering statement calling Mr. Trump practically and morally responsible for the riot, but he felt it was unconstitutional to convict the former office holder. The people who stormed this building believed they were acting on the wishes and instructions of their president, McConnell said. Mr. Trump issued a statement on Saturday afternoon thanking his legal team, as well as the Republicans in the Senate who found him not guilty and GOP House members who voted against the article of impeachment last month.
And he is hereby acquitted of the charge in said article.
A Chinese medical team in South Sudan is continuing to treat local residents during the Chinese Lunar Year. The Chinese doctors say that high demand for medical services is keeping them busy, with each medic seeing more than 200 patients a day. Since the team's arrival last August, the Chinese medics have also been training South Sudanese healthcare workers in addition to sharing knowledge about COVID-19 and other diseases at the main referral hospital, Juba Teaching Hospital. Although they are a long way from home during the most important traditional Chinese festival of the year, the medics say that they are happy to be helping those in need. The Chinese medical team occasionally takes time out for their busy schedule at the hospital to visit local orphanages.
South Sudan since 2011, the medical team is donating
And that's the sound of my producer asking me to sign out. Thank you for joining us. My name is Wadulo Mark Arnold Mugalu Mohammed on sign language. From the team, we must say good night and have yourselves a lovely week.
Brought to you by
At Umeme, your safety is our top priority. Report illegal practices to Umeme when you detect them. Download the Umeme app for other services. Stay alert, stay safe, save lives. Umeme, powering Uganda.
You're welcome. Here is the latest in weather from the Weather Center with Semper Alex Kim. In the morning hours, various parts of the country, especially the Lake Victoria Basin, had some light isolated rainfall, whereas in the afternoon, most parts of the country had some light showers.